Thank you all so much for coming to the holy city of Richmond and being a part of the 2012 session of the Virginia General Assembly. We really do appreciate everything that the Chamber does. You have, Barry, you guys are just doing a great job, and all the local and regional groups across the state that we've had the privilege of working with are doing such a great job in helping us promote the need to have a pro-business environment in our state and make sure that Virginia remains the top state in business. You are an important part of our team, and we appreciate everything that you do. Especially appreciate you coming and being a part of the, Bernie, those are some great socks. Those are, goodness gracious, you and Michael Jackson would wear those socks. I've never seen socks like that before. I don't know, but yeah, sorry about that. It just distracted me when I saw those. You'll have to look at these socks before you get a chance. Where was I in this? Anyway, we especially appreciate you coming and being a part of the session. I will tell you this, in the 16 years that I've been a part of the General Assembly process, 10 years in the Senate, 6 years as Lieutenant Governor, you learn that everybody has a lobby in Richmond. Every special interest group, and I don't use that word negatively, everybody that has an interest in something is a special interest group, but every special interest group has a voice. You're the voice for business in our state, and we believe that business in our state is very important. I am a business guy. And a lot of people don't know this, but being Lieutenant Governor in Virginia is still considered a part-time job. Now, I will tell you the way that Governor McDonnell and I have done it the past 2 years, it has not been a part-time job. I could easily spend 50, 60 hours a week on my state duties, but my wife, Jean Ann, reminds me that my salary of $36,721 does not support her in the lifestyle to which she's become accustomed. So I still have to spend some time in my business. I'm an insurance guy, and so I still spend some time in my business, and so I know how important business is. Business is the rising tide that can help lift all ships out of the grip that the recession has had on us these past 3 or 4 years. And as many of you have probably heard me say in the past, if there's one good thing that has maybe come out of this tough time that we've been through, it is that more people, I think, today are realizing that business is not a bad thing and profit is not a four-letter word. I think they're beginning to realize that the strength and the vitality of the private sector, not the government, the strength and the vitality of the private sector really is what creates that opportunity society that we are supposed to be about in America, and that I know we all want to be about in our state. So anyway, thank you for being here, participating in this process, and making the voice of business heard in the halls of the General Assembly. Let me say just a couple of things. Ned mentioned the job that the governor has tasked me with, heading up our state's economic development efforts, overseeing those efforts. I will tell you candidly, I've enjoyed this more than anything I've done in 20 years of public service. It's just been a great fit for me. And we have had some success. A tough economy, continues to be a tough economy, but in the last couple of years with our partners in the General Assembly, Senator Norman, who I see over here to my right, and who is, by the way, a businessman. He's a soybean farmer in James City County. I didn't know if he wouldn't know the difference between a soybean and a green bean. Let me tell you, he wouldn't. But he says he always jokes and says he's a soybean farmer in James City County. But our legislative partners have helped us invest over $100 million in the last 2 years in proven economic development and job creation programs. This year we have a budget that has another $37 million in proven economic development and job creation programs. And because of those investments, we just have more resources that are being dedicated today to telling the Virginia story here at home and all around the world. We have more tools to help us close deals, and we have had in a tough economy some considerable success. Ned mentioned 709 economic development deals, now about 55,000 net new jobs created in our state, an unemployment rate that's gone from 7.2% to 6.2%. And just to give you a measure of how good that is, the closest other state in the southeastern United States to us has an unemployment rate of 8.7%. So our 6.2% looks really good compared to the national average and to the regional average. And of course, it's great to get these rankings like CNBC and Paulina that says we're the top state. Forbes just said we were second to Utah. Utah! It's just amazing. But actually, it was instructive because the reason Forbes ranked us down a little bit was concern about how federal budget cuts could have on Virginia's economy. And we've got some plans to try to deal with that. So I think we can be very pleased with the progress we've made, but we have a lot of work left to do because there's still 250,000 Virginians out of work, and we're not going to stop working until every Virginian that wants a job can find a job. So a lot of work left for us to do in what continues to be a very challenging and uncertain economy for a lot of reasons, as you all well know. So, my message to you is a simple one. We're from the government, and we're here to help you. So. You laugh, we'd prefer that not be the punchline in a Jay Leno joke, all right? We are from the government, we're here to help. So if there are things that we're doing that are helping, let us know what those things are because we want to do more of that. If there are things we're doing that are hurting, making it more difficult, government is supposed to create an environment in which the private sector can flourish, but as Ronald Reagan reminded us, sometimes government is the problem. So if there are things that we're doing that are making it more difficult, let us know what those things are because we want to do less of that. I'm pretty easy to find. You can find me on the internet, billbolling.com. You can Google me. You can find me on Facebook. You can send me a twit on Twitter. If you, that's not right. What is it? It's not a tweet on Twitter. There's some twits around, but that's a different story for another day, but especially this time of year. You can send me a tweet on Twitter, whatever works best for you. Let Ibby, I want to introduce Ibby Hedrick over here by the door. Ibby is our business community liaison. So if there's anything we can do to help you, get in touch with Ibby Hedrick in our office, and we're just glad to do anything that we can do to help. Now, let me just close with this. Those of you who know anything about me know I'm from Southwest Virginia. I grew up when I was a little kid. My dad was a coal miner, and well, thank you very much, the Southwest Virginia delegation over here. But I lived in places called Hayside and Cedar Bluff, way out, and we are from Roanoke. That is not. Look, compared to where I grew up, Roanoke was Central Virginia. I mean, that compared to where I grew up. I want you to know, but. Oh yeah, that counts. That's Southwest Virginia. That's where I grew up. But anyway, I was out there this summer, and there was a lady came up to me, and she said, one of your every time I'm in Southwest Virginia, I meet a new relative, and which is possible because some of those family trees didn't have a lot of limbs, if in the old days. But anyway, this lady comes up and she says, your great uncle used to be a lobbyist for the coal companies, and he would go to Richmond every year, and he would on the train, and they'd stay down on the bottom, and then they'd walk up to the hill and lobby the members of the General Assembly. And she said he had written a letter back, and in one of his letters back home during the session, he had lamented a little bit. He said, I'm paraphrasing, but he said something like, we go up to the hill to tell the legislators what's on our mind, and they spend all our time telling us what's on their mind. And there was a little frustration you could almost sense. So anyway, I decided this year when I have a chance to come out to groups like this, rather than make some long, winded 15 or 20-minute speech, I just want to touch on a couple little things and then try to take a few minutes and answer some questions, because I'd really rather talk about what's on your mind than what's necessarily on my mind. I see Senator Norman over here waiting patiently, and he has to be back, I know, at 11:30 for Senate Republican caucus. So maybe just a couple. Anything that we're doing, any of the issues that we're dealing with in state government, any of our economic development stuff, the meaning of life, whatever. Anybody? You're always okay. Yes, Mike.
Sure, Bill. You've traveled all over the state and trying to help on the economic development. So what have you changed your mind about anything? What have you learned when you've been involved in this the last couple of years as a chief economic development?
Yeah, that's great. I could talk about that all day. Let me just a couple of things. First of all, what we found 2 years ago, frankly, on the economic development front, is that we were way behind a lot of the people we compete with every day. And I don't mean the Chinese and the Indians and people like that. I mean the North Carolinians and the South Carolinians and we were just way behind. We had fallen farther and farther behind in the resources that we were dedicating to economic development, in the programs that we had in place to attract business to our state and help business grow. So that's why we focus so much time. And I think we've caught up, and I think we're moving ahead now, but that was the first thing that became very apparent to me, is frankly we had fallen a little bit behind, and we needed to play a lot of catch up. The other thing that has been very striking to me is that while some regions of our state, as the economy has started growing again, are well positioned to do well. Northern Virginia will do well. Central Virginia will do well. Hampton Roads will do well. There are other regions of our state that need a little extra help. And we have really tried to focus on rural economic development, and we're very pleased with the successes that we've had there. In fact, if you look at the numbers of deals we've closed, about 30% of the deals that we've closed have been in rural parts of Virginia, Southern Virginia, Southwest Virginia, the Shenandoah Valley. So we want to continue to be very focused on rural economic development. And the third thing I will say, and I'm not just saying this because you asked the question, but I will share this with you candidly. We sometimes in Virginia have this, and honestly, after 10 years as a senator and 4 years as lieutenant governor, I'm not sure I had a full appreciation of this, the way that I have developed it the last couple of years. We sometimes have this thing going on in Virginia about NOVA and ROVA. Have you heard about that? Northern Virginia and the rest of Virginia. We are today in the rest of Virginia. If you're not from NOVA, you're from ROVA. But I will tell you this, those of us from ROVA better thank the good Lord that NOVA is a part of ROVA, because Northern Virginia is the economic engine of our state. 45%. That's the Northern Virginia delegation. Okay. No, really, let's just 45% of those 709 economic development deals we've done have been of Northern Virginia. It continues to be the economic engine of our state. I guess I've learned through that we really are a commonwealth. Some regions are going to do better, some regions need a little extra help, but it is the strength, for example, of a Northern Virginia that enables us to have the resources to do some of the things that we're trying to do in the rest of Virginia. Those are some of the things that I think I've learned in this process. Maybe one more, and then I'll get out of here and let Senator Norman get up here.
Roy Islow with Silicon Lake, Virginia. Just want to say I had the opportunity to hear you speak at the Virginia Tourism Summit, and the efforts that you guys are putting into tourism and Virginia tourism, we are reaping the benefits, and I want to thank you guys for putting the emphasis on tourism.
Well, thanks. I appreciate that. Tourism is big business in Virginia. It is closing in on a $20 billion business and industry in our state, employs over 200,000 people in Virginia. So we think it's very important that we do more to market Virginia as a great destination for people to come. And frankly, it's great, clean economic development. People come here from all over. They stay in our hotels, eat in our restaurants, shop in our shops, spend their money, and go home. And we don't have to educate and all that stuff. So it's great. It's great, clean industry for us in Virginia. I will tell you this, just to give you an idea. In the last 2 years alone, we have increased state funding for tourism in Virginia by 30%, and we have more in the budget this year. Our goal was to double our investment in tourism over the 4 years of this administration, and we got a ways to go to get there, but I think by the time we're done this year, we'll be about halfway there, and it is a very important part of our economy. Well, look, thank you guys so much for letting me come by and spend a few minutes with you, but more than that, thanks for what you do to make Virginia a great place to live and to work and to learn and to raise a family. I believe that we have the privilege of living in the greatest country that the world has ever known, despite our challenges. I believe we have the privilege of living in the greatest state, in the greatest country that the world has ever known. And it's up to you and me in the years to come to work hard, to work smart, to work together, to keep our focus on, finding solutions to challenges. I, very sincerely believe that you don't build a better Virginia through, rigid ideologies and, confrontational politics and polarizing personalities. You build a better Virginia by, Republicans and Democrats and independents all working together to just solve problems. And if we keep our focus on that, I'm confident of this. Despite the challenges that we face, our state's best days are yet to come. Thank you guys very much. Good to be with you.